Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Interesting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the College of Engineering's Engineering Your Wellbeing series student family training session. We are thrilled to have our first year students here with us in person and extend a warm welcome to all the parents and family members joining us virtually. At the North Carolina State, at NC State's College of Engineering, we are deeply committed to supporting not only your academic success, but also your personal, emotional, physical, and financial well-being. We recognize that thriving in all aspects of life is crucial to your journey, and we are actively working to create an environment that fosters that success. As part of this commitment, we've taken initiative steps to support student mental health and well-being. We are proud to be the first college at NC State to embed dedicated counselors directly into our college to meet the unique needs of our engineering students. Initiatives such as the Share Your Heart campaign encourage students to use color-coded hearts to share how they are feeling, creating a simple yet meaningful way to open up about mental health. We also launched the Safety Pin Crew, a collective of faculty and staff who meet students where they are, whether in classrooms, hallways, or labs, to check in, offer support, and connect them with resources. Tonight, we continue our commitment to fostering an open and supportive dialogue around mental health with a truly powerful speaker who will be sharing her story. We recognize that conversations about mental health and suicide prevention can be challenging and at times triggering. So to support you, we have counselors and mental health professionals from NAMI Wake County available in person throughout the event. If at any point you feel like you need support, please feel free to step out into the hallway in the back and connect with them. If you need to just take a quick break and don't require support, simply give them a thumbs up so that they know that you're okay and they don't try to follow you to the bathroom or to get a snack, okay? For those attending virtually, if you find yourself in need of support, please call the Crisis Lifeline at 988, or you can text HELLO to 741-741 to be connected to support directly. Thank you all again for being here and for joining us as we continue our mission to prioritize well-being and mental health across our community. We are excited to walk this journey with you as you begin your path in the College of Engineering, and we are here to support you every step of the way. At this time, I would like to bring up Lillian Davis, the Director of Public Policy for NAMI Wake County.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor for us to be with you here tonight. Again, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the oldest grassroots organization in which we do advocacy and support groups and education to support those living or those who have a family member with mental illness. Tonight, NAMI North Carolina joins forces with Dr. Renee Monet for Renewed Strength, and we are here tonight to support you in anything that you may need. If you want to have just a general question or any discussion about mental health, you have trained people that are here to support you. Dr. Renee Monet.
Hello, everybody. I'm an NC State alum. I'm Dr. Renee Monet. I love this college. I love this university, and I'm glad that you are getting this type of support here. I am the Executive Director of Renewed Strength Counseling Services, and so there I work with people of all ages, adults and children, everybody in between, and if there's any support that I can lend today and the conversation becomes hard or you feel like, you just need a moment, as she said before, you can just give me a thumbs up and walk out, or if you do need extra time, just tell me, hey, let's chat. And so I'm here and available for you.
And like we say both together, mental health matters,
Yes.
You matter.
You matter.
If you need us, we're here. Please access our resources and just call us if there's anything you need. Thank you again for the invitation.
are very appreciative of our partnership with NAMI. And I am Assistant Dean Daniel. And our office name has recently changed, so it's even different from what you see there on the screen. But for the Office for Equality, Wellbeing, and Engagement. And so I have the extreme pleasure of being able to introduce our guest speaker for the evening, and I'm going to say a Wolfpack family member. AnneMoss Rogers is a mental health motivational speaker, author, suicide prevention trainer, and suicide loss survivor. The tragic suicide of her young son Charles in 2015 was a turning point in her life. Through her own personal experience of loss and working her way through this devastating time, AnneMoss uses her authenticity and know-how to teach and support others. Now, as an education expert on emotional wellness, suicide prevention, and postvention, as well as a youth mental health, she speaks at conferences, universities, schools, and workplaces to help better equip her audiences, fill their hearts with hope, and ultimately save lives. I'm extremely honored to have AnneMoss Rogers here with us this evening, and if you can join me in giving her a round of applause.
I will put this in the bag. I don't want to walk off without my special whatever it's called. What are they called? Does anybody know? Stress balls. Okay. There we go. It is working. All right. Today we're going to talk about emotional content. Here are a bunch of crisis lines and lifelines. And I also want to point out the peer warm line. I called it last week, and that's just if you're like feeling kind of lonely, overwhelmed, and just want to connect with somebody. I had a really nice conversation with a young lady, because when I am recommending resources, I like to call on a call and get a feeling of them. You can text 988, you can call 988, you can also not have any idea you're talking with somebody, you're concerned, you say, let's call 988 together. So last year, I gave this talk, and I came away with this particular testimonial. I thought this would really suck, but it was actually really good. One of my favorite testimonials of all time. So we're going to start with an anonymous survey about you all. Parents online, this is not for you, but students online, this is for you too. So I'm going to tell you about what it is, and then you're going to access this question on your phone, on your mobile device. So, how do you feel about being in college today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not 10 hours ago. So your emotions are always changing. So you may feel differently tonight than you did this morning, that's okay. But we want to find out where everyone is right now. So are you excited and proud? Maybe a little bit anxious. Anxious and overwhelmed. That would be me my first year in college. Having the time of my life. Ambivalent and unsure. Hopeless and miserable. Or do you feel invisible? So you'll want to go to this QR code. And when you do, you're going to see that slide. But when I advance the slide, you will see the actual anonymous survey. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to do that. If you are online and you are looking at this on your phone, you may not be able to access it by QR code. You want to go to menti.com, and you will enter the code you see there, which is 6419-0655. And when I advance the slide, that code will be at the top. So you guys can start voting, and we can see how everybody feels. And I hope you guys online are also voting. Look, I'll give it another 10 seconds because I think people are still kind of accessing it. And Angie, where'd she go? Anyway, I want somebody to take a picture of that because I want a picture of it. So it looks like 45% feeling a little anxious but excited and proud. 26% feel anxious and overwhelmed. That was me, my first year in college. 5% are having the time of their life. 21% are ambivalent or unsure. 7% feel hopeless and miserable. And 2% feel invisible. So let's remember that not everybody that you see that looks really confident is really feeling like they fit in. That first year when we're not really comfortable with everything yet, we don't have that sense of connection and belonging. And when we don't have a sense of connection and belonging, everything else kind of comes apart. That connection piece is really important. So this is my son, Charles. 6'1", 135 pounds. And that's how much he weighed at the age of 20. By the time this picture was taken, I think he was 130 pounds. This is a picture of him on homecoming court, and he's being escorted by his favorite teacher, Miss Fretwell. Funniest, most popular kid in school, suffered from depression, anxiety, became addicted to heroin, and killed himself in 2015. He was the last person I would have ever thought would have killed himself. How could somebody so full of life that made everybody laugh end his life that way? Well, one long after that picture was taken, that Charles's drug use started to escalate, and I did not know why. I thought, is he trying to self-medicate mental illness? Is he trying to fit in? Is there something else I don't know about? Does he, what is it? And it was really all of those, but it was one of those I had never thought of. He did drugs and alcohol to numb thoughts of suicide. Thoughts I never knew he had. Thoughts he had probably for a decade. And I was completely unaware of it, mostly because I didn't know what the signs were. Here's what I want you to know. Reaching for a substance to solve a problem robs you of the ability to develop healthy coping strategies. Because what happens is when you numb it, you're avoiding it, and it comes back like a boomerang on steroids. You really have to go through that difficult experience to learn how to manage, your schedule. Some of you probably feel a little crazy about the schedule, how do they expect me to get all this done? But you figure it out. And if you go to drugs and alcohol, you won't figure it out. So he started a lot with marijuana. And I'll tell you that vape pen is really basically breadcrumbs to addiction. We have kids in elementary school now with seizures because of marijuana gummies. My son one night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear something outside on the roof. And I went to the guest room because that's how you access the roof. There's Charles out there, naked, 22 degrees, peeing off the roof. What is he doing? I go out there and manage to get him in. His eyes are all glassy, he's weird. I am scared to death. What is he taking? And I'm sure it's just a bunch of stuff I've never heard of. We go to the hospital. They do a tox report. It comes back, marijuana. He had had an episode of marijuana-induced psychosis. So the drug he thought was helping him with his chill, helping him relax, was doing just the opposite. Sure, it did that at first, but it didn't, it didn't later on. So a lot of you will hear about Adderall. And I'm here to tell you, we don't know what's in that pill, for one thing. It looks like prescription medication, but there may not even be Adderall in it. It is not a smart drug if it was Adderall. If you're taking it and it's not prescribed, then again, you're numbing, you're not learning how to manage a schedule. You're just basically depending on a drug. One pill can kill. What might that Adderall have in it? Fentanyl, xylazine. I did not have the heart to show you a picture of skin lesions as a result of xylazine. Really gross. Arsenic, lead, methamphetamine, rat poison, cement, pesticides. That's what could be in that pill. And you could take that one pill to take that one test, and you could overdose or die from it. I've seen these all over near college campuses. Hillsboro's no different. And what they sell in there, they market it as legal. But legal does not mean safe. They'll call them mood enhancers, dietary supplements, focus aids, sleep aids. What they are is breadcrumbs to addiction. So Charles's drug use starts to escalate. We go through all the local resources that we have, and our counselor recommended that we kidnap our son out of his bed and have him taken to a wilderness program. So we had to hire an escort. I'm not proud of this, and I also am going to tell you it wasn't plan A. We were desperate. You don't do this because you've caught your kid with a beer and a joint. You do this because you think your child's life is truly at risk. Now, as you can see from the picture, he was not happy. And who would be when they're dragged out of their bed 5:30 in the morning by two strangers and plucked in the middle of the woods, and then you were told that you had to dig a trench to go to the bathroom? He wasn't happy. But part of the reason he wasn't happy is the first 2 weeks, he was going through withdrawal from marijuana. A lot of people say, oh, marijuana is not addictive. Once you start scromiting, which is screaming and vomiting at the same time, you will realize, yes, it is definitely addictive. This is where he's diagnosed with anxiety and depression, cannabis dependence, because he was using that to self-medicate, ADHD combined type, which we already knew about, and Charles had a rare sleep disorder called delayed sleep phase syndrome. And that meant he could not fall asleep before 2 a.m. And I really think that is one of the main things that played into his depression and all of his other mental health issues. So from Wilderness, they recommended therapeutic boarding school. Another step I'm not all that thrilled about, but again, desperate parents, and one we couldn't afford. But he comes home in 2014, having spent some 22 months outside our home in some kind of placement. Graduated from high school. We were delighted about that. What I didn't know is Charles went right back to using drugs and alcohol to manage his emotions and his difficulty, and I didn't know it. And in the back of a police car in a parking lot, we got the worst news of our lives. my son had been found dead. And they came to tell us one night when we went out to dinner. My husband asked, how did he die? I thought, that's such a crazy question. How do you think he died? He was addicted to heroin. And the policeman said it was a suicide and the method left no question. What I also want you to know is withdrawal is a time of vulnerability when it comes to suicide. I had no idea. My first thought was, how could I be such a crummy mother that my child would leave me this way? Didn't he know how much we loved them? But I didn't understand why suicide, and it would be a long time before I would. And I also know that we can love someone, we can give it our all, but sometimes we just can't prevent that which we don't know. But you're here tonight, and you'll see some of the signs, so we can increase the possibility that we can get somebody the help and support that they need. So I'm going to talk a little bit about mental health. And we're going to start with that coping card that you all got. And we're going to make something called a coping card. Now you can turn it this way or that way. The only reason it's turned the way it is because that's the way it fit on a slide. If you don't have a pen, can I get one? Raise your hand and we'll make sure you get one. So we're going to do this throughout the presentation. So the first thing we're going to do is the reasons for living. We need a pen right here. You got a pen? Yay, got a pen and everything. You can catch up with us. We're doing a coping card. And the first heading is reasons for living. And these are the things that are most important to you. So the young man that filled out this coping card said family, football, Rex, and his keyword of a past memory that brought him joy was beach trip 2015. So at this point, that's all we're doing, the reasons for living. If you can't think of reasons for living and you've had struggles in the past, think about what has kept you alive in the past. So I'll give you a minute to write down. At least we want eventually 2 to 3. So we all run into adversity. Life is not perfect. So kind of having a roadmap of how you're going to handle it is going to help. You are going to take this with you. I'm not going to take it from you. So reasons for living is your first heading. So we're going to talk about depression, and if somebody is advertising an event, how many times have you all seen this kind of picture? The sad student. How many times do you actually see that? I can tell you with my son, it wasn't very often. Lots of times people are wearing a mask. They don't want to show you this side of them. And teenagers and young adults, they are masters at hiding their depression. So you don't see this very often. You do see anger and irritability. So my dad struggled with depression his entire life and would have these episodes of anger and irritability. He wasn't diagnosed till he was 85 years old because he was cussing out the nurses at assisted living facility. And I thought, maybe it's depression. His entire life, when he would have these episodes and they would, life changes, episodes come and go, he would feel guilty afterwards, and he couldn't figure out why he was so angry and irritable. But that's how his depression played out. If you have a friend group and somebody ghosts, or they become background noise and you don't see them anymore, lots of times you'll take that personally. That person is ghosting me. And you start cussing because you're mad. It's not personal, 99% of the time. Most of the time, it is something that person is dealing with. And I encourage you to keep reaching out to that individual. So my niece struggled. For 9 months, we're so close. We have talked every single month or every single week since she was 5 years old. And for 9 months, we didn't speak because she was struggling with something. My mom's freaking out. Her mom's freaking out. And I'm like, you all give her space. She'll come around. I just texted her 3 times a week for those 9 months. I told her I loved her. I told her I loved her just the way she was. I told her I was proud of her. I showed her pictures of trees. I showed her things going on in the neighborhood. I shared family photos. And if you look at that string of texts, it's all me for 9 months. Then one day, bing, I get a heart on one of the pictures. All right, bingo, I think we're getting somewhere. 2 weeks later, she calls me. She just needed some time to process. I didn't give her advice. I didn't give her solutions. I didn't say, oh, you need to go to counseling. I just kept in touch and let her know that I was thinking about her and that I cared about her. And this is what I saw. Happy-go-lucky young man with a constant revolving door of friends. I would ask him, hey, Charles, why at 18 years old do you still want to have people come and spend the night? Thinking, shouldn't you have outgrown that by now? I would find out later from reading his rap lyrics that he had people over all the time because he was afraid of what he would do to himself at night when he was alone. And that was one of his coping strategies, is to have somebody close by that would prevent that. And I never knew it. Here's a picture of Charles. My older son, who is a filmmaker in LA, is on the far left. He's at film school in UNCSA, School of the Arts. He's just moved into a house, and Charles and I wanted to go up and help them move in. The 2 roommates are on the far right, and you'll see this smile on Charles's face. But this was when the cameras on the phone did those bursts where you push the button and it took like 12 pictures. Here's the picture a few seconds before. After he died, I went back and I could see how many times that mask was down, because it is exhausting to wear a mask when you feel like crap. It is utterly exhausting, and it is impossible to keep that mask on the whole time. So when are young adults most vulnerable? So you guys' brains have not fully developed. They won't till you're 25, 28 years old. So you're more vulnerable to change, and that is transitions and relationship disruptions. And we'll start with transitions. What do I mean by transitions? Starting college is a huge one. But I also want you to know that, like, anytime you leave campus for holiday or spring break or right before exams, those changes, you'll start to feel uncomfortable. You may feel a little bit more depressed or a little bit more anxious. That's normal. So just want you to have that expectation and work through it and go, okay, this is normal, and I'm going to work through it. The other is relationship disruption. And that is romantic breakup. Fight with a friend, fight with a roommate, fight with a parent. Grief and loss. Loss of a pet. Loss of a brother, sister, mother, father. And we don't talk about grief a lot. And we don't allow people to feel those feelings. But those can also be triggers that make you feel more depressed, more despair. So just be aware that the leaving and the coming back, you're going to feel that way. And also when you have a relationship disruption. So we got another anonymous survey. And this one I got to explain a little bit. Do you feel any of these kinds of anxiety? How many people in here knew there was more than one kind of anxiety? Good. So we have social anxiety, and that is, I don't want to go to that party, I don't want to talk to people, I'll feel all alone, I'll have to look at my phone. You know, that kind of fear of being around people and being social. B, performance anxiety. That is, I got this test to take, I've studied, but now I'm freaking out, and how am I going to do? I'm going to do poorly, and you start, you know, tearing yourself apart. Panic attacks or panic disorder, and that it feels kind of like a heart attack. Your face heats up, your heart rate goes up. The actual way to bring that down is to start deep breathing and engage your parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to bring down that panic attack. General overall anxiety, or little to no anxiety because you're like, I don't even know what she's talking about. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and you're all going to vote like you did last time. Those of you online as well. So there's the code again. You probably should be up on your phone. And you guys can start choosing. And I can compare to what you guys picked to the first years from last year. So it looks like people are still voting. So it looks like general overall anxiety is the highest. Last year, the social anxiety was the highest.
This is also a hard question to answer because a lot of people who have some form of anxiety have multiple forms of anxiety,
Right.
And if we're only able to pick one,
It is, and I used to have 2 on there, but it skewed the results so oddly. So pick the one that's most prevalent, because she's right. What she was saying is that some people have, you know, they may have the social anxiety and also the panic disorder. But which one is like the most frightening to you? Or the most prevalent? Because usually one is just a little bit more prevalent than the other. Thank you for doing that. Can somebody take a picture of that, Angie? She's taking a picture, and then I'll advance the slide. Thank you. So we're going to take a closer look at suicide. So what are the signs that somebody might be struggling with suicide? Now, it's usually not like one thing on this list, but multiple things on this list. So we talked earlier about ghosting and isolating. Drinking and drugging more. So let's say there's a friend, roommate, acquaintance that seems to be really digging in and partying all the time, and it's gotten really scary. Behaving recklessly, driving too fast. My dad had a friend that he was in that state, and he would get in his speedboat, and he would just like go all out. And I remember my dad being on one of those trips and going, I'm never getting on that boat again. Drop in performance. So you've been a B student and all of a sudden you're making Ds, or someone you know is. Falling asleep in class. Frequent flyers to the doctor. Giving away prized possessions. So we're going to go back to frequent flyers to the doctor. So those, I knew the first name of every school counselor of every school my son ever attended. In fact, it was usually the first person that would call the house. He would get headaches and backaches and muscle aches, and they were not fake, they were real symptoms, because he would tighten up a lot, and that would give him tension headaches. And we find that people that go to the clinics a lot sometimes struggle with depression. Charles also talked about death a lot, and he talked about dying early. And what would I do? I was paralyzed with fear. Like, why is he talking about that? I thought it was that little creative genius quirk about him. I had all kinds of excuses. I wish I would have asked, what makes you talk about death so much? In a non-accusatory but a curious way. I wish I would have done that. Instead, I just froze. And he did that for years. But do you know what he was doing? He was giving me an invitation. Please ask, Mom. Please ask why I am talking about death all the time. But I didn't get that clue. And I really regret that. So what do people say? I want to die. I feel so worthless. I can't do this anymore. I feel so numb. I feel so overwhelmed. Big one. I feel like such a burden. Burden and worthless. Two biggest red flag words. This is what my son said on social media. 4 days before he died, if I died, no one would notice for at least a month. You'll see 2 retweets on that back when it was called Twitter. This is a kid who got 500, 1,000 retweets. Nobody knew what to do with those. Nobody called, I was sent this, a picture of this one, I'd say 5 hours before he took his life. I didn't know what to make of it. If you want to see who really cares about you, see who's there when you have nothing. Invitation, he's raising his hand, please help. You see messages like this on social media, we need your help. You need to tell a trusted adult. And what is a trusted adult? That'd be a slightly annoying adult. It's that aunt that says, so how are you? I'm fine. No, really, how are you? Come on, out with it. That's the one. The one that doesn't pass judgment, give you all these solutions. Well, you know, you really should cut out sugar. That's not the one you want. You want a trusted adult who's going to listen to you, meet you where you are, is going to hear you, hear what you have to say. You got to tell someone, because lots of times you'll see these goodbye notes posted on social media. You all are the ones who are going to see them. Suicide prevention isn't just the staff, just the parents. It is all of us. We can all see signs. We can't fix it, but we can be the bridge to help. And we are going to talk about what you do and what you say. Here's how you stop suicide. Not what you do, not what you say. Do it with your ears. By listening, allowing another person to feel heard, meeting them where they are, letting another person feel heard is the greatest gift you can offer another human being. So I have a video on YouTube that has about 90,000 views. They can only find it when they look up a specific way to die, and I do not give instructions. It is a video I made several years ago. It's not great, but people find it. And there are about 4,000 comments, and I've answered every one of them. This young lady came on, she said, I'm a loser, everyone hates me, I'm not getting good grades, I'm miserable. And you can see 10 replies. And a day later, I'm good as you're listening to me. Now I'm going to tell you the kind of things I said. Why do you think everyone hates you? And she explained why. I didn't refute her and say, oh, Ed, that's not true. I just said, I'm sorry you feel that way. That must feel really miserable. So we just talked back and forth, and I asked questions. How long have you felt that way? Has anything happened in your life that may have activated this feeling? I'm good as you're listening to me. That's all it took. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't fix it, because I can't prevent suicide. I can only help someone else save their own life. And that's really all that you all can do. This is from an international student. He came to a college in the United States. He had no friends, no family, very, very isolated, had a girlfriend, they broke up. He came to that video and he told me, and for, I'd say 6 weeks, this young man was seriously close to killing himself. I was really concerned. He told me what college campus he was on. I went and looked it up, and I said, I don't know if you're aware of this. Now this is, I'd listened to him, I'd heard him. And I said, I don't know if you're aware of it, but they have counseling services on site that are free, and you can access those. He went and accessed them. And one night he said, it's really, really bad. I need a strategy. And I said, intense exercise is one way to reset your brain. So he had a bike downstairs, it's not a Peloton, but one of those that's similar, stationary bike. And he would go down there when he was really struggling, and he would just sweat. And then I get this message, probably 3 years later. Do you remember me, who was depressed in 2020? Now I'm completely normal, living my life happily. Thank you so much for that help. You changed my life. All I did was listen and reply. The magic phrase, tell me more about how you feel, I am listening, and then we gotta shut up. We nod, we let that person know they've been heard. We don't want to say, you have so much to live for. Nobody wants to hear that when they are wrapped in despair. That's not meeting people where they are. And then we have to ask this question. Who wants to ask this question? I bet, does anybody really want to ask this question? No. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Nobody wants to say, so, Bo, are you thinking of suicide? But if you want to know if somebody is thinking of suicide, you have to ask directly. That is the only way to find out. Usually what you will see on the face of the person you were sitting across from is relief. Finally, somebody has asked me the question. And when you say the word, you sort of take the danger out of having that conversation. And people are more willing to open up. Now, you're going to have all these fears, right? You're going to feel like, this is now my responsibility. I get this big responsibility in my lap. You do not. None of you are qualified to fix this. We just want you to listen and connect them with help. Listen, connect with help. So we're all going to have you ask that question out loud. When I count to 3, are you thinking of suicide? 1, 2, 3. Are you thinking of suicide? I've asked that question hundreds of times. I am more comfortable asking that question than I was a few years ago. I still don't want to ask it. I'm still uncomfortable. But I think it, and then I go, all right, AnneMoss, you're uncomfortable. You're going to ask it anyway, so you might as well get over it. And then I work through that feeling and I ask the question. Acknowledge the signs of depression and suicide in a friend. Care. Let the person know you care. Tell a trusted adult. Acknowledge, care, tell. Act. And I want you to trust your gut. Don't let your brain talk you out of what you know in your gut. You feel it, you feel that despair, you know it, and you want to run from it. I get it. Don't do that. Trust your gut. It's really all about connection. So, back to your index cards. Now we're going to do healthy coping strategies. Writing, reading fart jokes, 100 jumping jacks. And let's be specific. So instead of say go outdoors, say I want to ride my bike. Instead of just writing, we really want to say journaling. If you're going to say music, I want to listen to music, say what kind of music. You want to be specific. What are your healthy coping strategies? And by the way, retail therapy is not one of them because you could run out of money if you do that every time you're anxious. This one had 2 minutes of deep breathing and watching YouTube comedy. Yes?
If you're in a situation where, like, the only coping mechanism you have is an unhealthy one, it's still a coping mechanism.
It is. So I was at a university a few years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago. And I get heckled too. Guy in the back says, I know the best coping strategy. I said, what is it? He said, sex. And I said, okay, that's great. What else? And he goes, there isn't anything else. I said, okay, I'm going to give you a scenario. And he looks real confused. I said, you are at the Kroger food frozen section. And all of a sudden, you get really, really anxious. Is that particular coping strategy available to you right then without getting arrested? Not likely, right? That's why you want to start to build your toolbox. You want to have more than one because they're different ones for different situations. Deep breathing is usually always available. So if you guys got at least 1 or 2 written down, can I see some thumbs up? Okay. So we're going to do some script practice. Have you gotten mic'd up? So they're going to get mic'd up. Oh, they have, yay! These are my volunteers. And I'm going to drink water while y'all.
Chris, you seem really low lately. What's up?
Nothing. I'm fine.
That's not what it feels like. You haven't gotten out of bed or gone to class in a week. That tells me that something is wrong. So I'm not giving up and I'm sitting here until you talk.
Nothing matters. I don't matter. Pretty soon, no one will be bothered by me.
Whoa, that is serious. When people say they don't matter and aren't motivated at all, they're often thinking of suicide. Are you thinking of suicide?
Well, no. I mean, maybe. So what if I was?
I'll take that as a yes. We can call somewhere together, the campus number, which I can look up, or 988 to see what the next steps are. You have a preference?
The last thing I need is some ambulance here hauling me away and humiliating me.
I'm pretty sure that's not what happens unless there is blood spurting somewhere out somewhere, or your arm is falling off. Let's call and ask. I can call while you listen on speaker. How's that? Because I have no clue what to do now, but I do know I'm not leaving you alone right now, and I know we can make a phone together.
Don't worry about me.
No chance. Not going anywhere. Pick which one, or I will. I have felt low before too, really low. Someone was there for me. I'm just paying it forward.
For real?
Yeah. My junior year in high school. Worst year. I was like you. Didn't go to school or get out of bed. It was just after my dad died. I just couldn't function.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry you lost your dad.
I guess I don't advertise it. Still hurts. It was cancer and it's been hard. I just looked up the campus crisis line. It's 919-515-2423. That one okay on speaker?
Yeah, that one is fine. Dang, you're pushing.
Part of my charm. Calling now. I'll put it on speaker. I'll start and you can interrupt or correct me. I have no idea what to say, but I assume they'll ask us stuff.
Yay! All right, let me take the scripts, and you all get participation prizes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to circulate. Thank you all for doing that. I appreciate it. Give them another round of applause. That was really great. Angie, if you would hand this out and you all can peruse it, and then this one to this side. I just want you to kind of see what a conversation might look like. The guy said, I have no clue. I don't know what to do, but what did he do? He showed partnership. Let's do this together. Let's walk there together. Dude, I'm not leaving you alone right now. No. He was a little bit pushy, right? And sometimes when people are pushy, we allow ourselves to be pushed. But this is life and death. No, dude, I'm not going anywhere. This is serious. So we're going to talk about your mental health. You all, life is full of ups and downs. You are always going to run into a speed bump, and there is going to be a time in your life where life explodes in your face. When my son died, life exploded in my face. And I learned some strategies for minimizing the pain that I had to suffer with. There was no bargaining with actual pain. You have to go through pain when it's there. You lose a loved one, you're going to feel pain. But you can minimize that suffering. First of all, I want you to go back to your card and list those 2 trusted adults that you would call. That is a trusted adult, also known as a slightly annoying adult, doesn't judge or offer unsolicited advice, and someone you trust. Hopefully one of them is on campus. A professor, a teacher, a coach, a minister, an aunt, an uncle, your mother, your father, an older brother. You can have this trusted person and not wait till it gets to crisis. Maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't pick the right major, and I'm freaking out. Talk to somebody about that. Because what happens is it gets stuck in your head and it starts going round and round like a gerbil on one of those little wheels. And then it starts to take up more brain real estate. And then it's all you can think about and you can't sleep. You talk about it, you leave room in your brain to actually think. So talking about it helps, and talking about it with a trusted adult can help you make the decision. It's not up to them. They're not going to make it for you. You make the decision. Here's some of the numbers to call. So on your card, this is the easy part, because you just copy 1 or 2 or 3 of these down. 988, crisis text is 741-741. Prevention services on campus, 919-515-4405. Counseling center, 919-515-2523. And then the North Carolina Pier 1 line is 855-733-7762. And I see everybody's still writing, so I'm going to take a drink of water and let you all finish. I hope you all online are choosing one of these as well. Oh, by the way, parents who are watching, you need to be doing this card too. And if your parents are watching, they have to text you their card. They got to do one too. We all need this. It's not just for young adults and teenagers, it is for everyone. All right, raise your hand if you got a number or 2 down. All right, that's most of you. Here are the basics of mental health. Sleep, eat right, move, connect. Those are your 4 foundation. If you are not feeling right, one of those is not being met. Sleep being the most important. How many people in this room get 8 hours of sleep? I do. All right. So after Charles died, I made getting sleep a religion. And you know why? Because the next day, if I woke up and didn't get enough sleep, that day was unbearable. The more sleep I got, the better able I was to deal with things. Eat right. You start eating bunches of junk, it's going to figure into your mental health. You got to move. Riding bikes, walking outdoors, getting up, walking around the room. Anything qualifies as moving. You just got to get away from the screen and move your tail. And then connect. Connect with other people. Maybe you join some kind of club online, a study group. You got to connect with people. It's really, really important. And some people need it more than others. Feel your feelings. So here's what a lot of people do. Something terrible happens, they go right into distraction. But you're missing a step, a really important step, because it is that step that's going to move you out of that raw, ugly place of a lot of pain. So I'm grieving the death of my son. That grief would overcome me. I'd go to the floor, curl up, scream, cry, kick the wall. I was mad at God. I was mad at the world. How could you take my son away? Let me tell you how long that really intense pain lasts. 60 to 90 seconds. It feels like an hour, doesn't it? Then you'll feel it lift. And that's when you distract yourself with a healthy coping strategy. If you do not, you're likely to go back in that same cycle and feel it all over again. Go through that same 60 to 90 seconds. You've already felt it, you've already reflected on it, you've already let it in, and now it's time to distract yourself. So you got to do that step in the middle of feeling your feelings, and they will not kill you. They feel like they will. I can attest to that. Men have feelings too. Don't think this is just a girl thing or a chick thing. It's not. I remember one time somebody said to my husband, he's probably handling it better, the death of your son, because he's a guy. For him to not feel that grief, he would have had to have loved my son less. And I know that's not possible. My husband hurt every bit as much as I did, even if he expressed it differently and worked through it in a different way than I did. What magic skill is the most important of all mental health strategies? The pause. When you are in an emotional tsunami, you have to take a deep breath. You have to wait till your mind settles. And I have a 10-second video that I'm going to show you.
During an emotional tsunami, you're not going to make the best decisions, and you have to wait till your mind settles. During an emotional tsunami, you're not going to make the best decisions, and you have to wait till your mind settles.
It'll go into an endless loop if I don't make it go forward. So I use that glitter jar to illustrate that, you know, when you're all emotional, it's all over the place, right? And by the time it settles, you're more likely to make an informed decision. You're likely to actually sabotage yourself if you try to make a decision when your brain is all scrambled and you're in this, you know, emotional vortex. If you're overwhelmed, break things down into micro steps. I did not want to get out of bed for a year. I couldn't even put together all the steps it took to get out and run. So I said, all right, I'm just going to break it down into small steps. I'd be in bed in the morning, I'd say, AnneMoss, all you have to do is put your feet on the floor. You don't have to do anything else right now, just put your feet on the floor. Once I did that step, I said, now you go to the bathroom. And then it was brush your teeth. And then I would find myself outside with my running shoes on. And be like, well, I'm already out here. I might as well run. That's how I did it. I just broke it down into tiny little steps. And I was so emotionally bereft that I had to put it on Post-it notes, to put it on the wall to remind me the order of what I needed to do. One day, it's the day before I did the Post-it notes, I walked into the shower, completely dressed, and got drenched. And I'm like, I forgot the step of taking off my clothing before I got in the shower. So sometimes when we get really emotional, it's hard to think. So wins and accomplishments. This is the bonus backside. And I want you to put down things on the other side of your card that you're proud of yourself. It can be one thing, it can be two things, and it can be something really simple. I am good at making pimento cheese sandwiches. I'm good at doing handstands. Remember that soccer goal I made my senior year in high school. So think about that, and I'm going to read you one from a student who wrote this and told me about it last year. And I'm going to try to do this without crying. I practiced earlier today to try to get the tears out then. If life was a tightroad, I think I have made it halfway through. I did not have anything when I moved to the USA 2 years ago, and I still don't. But I am still here, sustaining myself, even though there is no assurance if I can continue school. He was proud that he was here 2 years later, never knowing where the money was going to come from, never knowing where he was going to live. And I'm going to bet a lot of people on this campus can relate to that. So what are your wins? What are your accomplishments? I have a page on my website. It's a secret page. And I go to it, and it's all the comments that people have left, text, emails, comments over the years. Because sometimes I struggle and feel like I'm not doing enough. And I go to that page, and it fills me back up. So we're going to talk real quickly about resources. So there are a lot of things that people struggle with, and actually you can learn a lot from podcasts. Walking around campus, you can listen to a podcast. And these are a few, and I'll have a QR code that has links to a lot of these. Another one is mantherapy.org. And it says, take the head inspection. So anonymously, with nobody else, you can go take and see, do I have depression? Do I have anxiety? And you can take that test. I know the PhD doctor that put together the test that's behind that. So it is real. And Mental Health America has one for both sexes. But you could be a female and take that one too. Here's the QR code for some of the mental health resources and podcasts that I have talked about. And I think the next slide has it too, because I'm going to end with a story. Oh, one more thing, I want you all to vote. I can't help it. I voted all 4 years when I was at UNC Chapel Hill. My husband went here, by the way, Kimmy. And I had to stand in line for 2 hours and fill out that stupid form. Y'all don't have to do that. So everybody go vote. If you want to leave me a note, there are index cards on the table as you come in. I would love for you all to leave me a note, and you just leave it on that table. You can tell me one thing you learned, part of your story, whatever you want to tell me. And I'm going to tell you a story about my son. A young lady named Danielle came up to me after he died and said, Ms. Rogers, there's a story I want to tell you. And one is that I struggled with depression, and I still do. And one day I didn't want to get up and go to school. But somehow I did get to school, and I'm standing in the hallway with my friends, wearing my mask because I don't want them to know how I feel. They're laughing and talking, and I think, no one can tell. And she looks up, and she sees Charles staring straight at her. And she said, Miss Rogers, we had never met. I mean, he's the most popular kid in school. So she said, of course I knew him, but he was staring straight at me. And then he comes and he makes a beeline towards her and stops about a foot in front of her, breaks out in a rap song he created on the spot just for her, also called freestyling. And of course the friends are stunned, because who does that, right? Then they started laughing. He finishes the song, he bends down, and he gives her a hug and says, pretty girl, shouldn't look so sad. And he makes his way down the hall. And she says, I have struggled since. And when I do, I think of that moment. I think of your son and what he did for me. And I'll never forget it. And I think as funny and as talented as my son was, his greatest gift was letting other people know that they matter. And that's something that each and every one of you can do, and it counts. So thank you for listening today and being present. And there's that QR code again, if anyone missed it. And do we have time for questions or not?
We could do maybe two, 3 questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Be brave. No one's going to force you. All right, I'm going to hang around afterwards if anyone wants to talk. I'm not going to run out of here. Angie, I think, has somewhere to be tonight. But I'm just going back to the hotel, so I got a few minutes.
Can you all join me in giving Ms. AnneMoss Rogers for you and the work that you do, and the life that still lives on in your son through your work. So we thank you. I want to thank you all as the students for joining us, the parents that are online, and also the few students that are online for taking the time out for this very important session. We hope you found this experience meaningful. We realize it's a heavy topic, but it's the talk and conversation that we must have. So as AnneMoss shared, the thing that you can do, which is the simple thing, is to listen, right? And be open and understanding that if you interact with your roommate or someone in your class and they seem off, it's our responsibility to look after each other, make sure that they have support, ask them how they're doing. We also want to thank those responsible for making this event possible. So Academic Affairs, we want to thank Wolf Bites for making sure all of the technical things went well.
Yeah, and I would love to hear if they have any ideas about other mental health events like weightlifting, wellness, things like that. This is your opportunity to get some fun stuff for wellness.
And so definitely any ideas that you want to share with us, please let us know. We also want to thank NAMI for their support and being here to offer support for students. Again, the individuals will be outside should you want to spend some time talking Also Hunt Library for the space, and to my amazing team, Dr. Carter and Miss Kathy Wynn. I do want to do a quick reminder that on the Oval tomorrow from 4 to 8 is Pop Back. And so I want to encourage you to come out, take a few minutes to relax. Food trucks, games, student organizations, the Active Mind student group who's out here now. If you're interested in being more involved as a student around mental health, I encourage you to get connected to Active Minds. You can sign up with the QR code that's on the table, and you'll receive all the details. But again, hopefully you can take some time to come out on the Oval tomorrow. 4 to 8 p.m. Alrighty? And so again, we thank you for being with us this evening, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you need anyone to talk to, we're going to be around for a few more minutes. So thank you all again.